lighting his freebasing pipe with the rum that he was drinking. He had 150 proof rum, and he was dipping a torch into it, and his girlfriend at the time, who would eventually become his next wife, said, I told him, you know, you should probably just pour a little bit of that into a cup. You're gonna have some sort of accident. And so he was dipping this torch in and lighting his pipe off of it, and he was getting increasingly more and more paranoid. So his best friend and quasi bodyguard, security guard named Rashawn came in and was watching television with Richard. So Rashawn said that they were sitting there watching a Vietnam documentary, and they saw the part where the monk was sitting there and lit himself on fire. And he was watching with Richard, and he said, Richard, look at his conviction. Look at him, like he's not moving. And he said, Richard looked over and said, he didn't even flinch when he lit the match. And he said Richard just kind of like went into a trance watching this, and then at some point Richard got up, walked in and grabbed the bottle of rum that he had been drinking, that 150 proof rum, poured it over his head and onto his body, and then purposely lit the match. Some people say he did it while he was in the act of freebasing, but he wasn't. He consciously did this. Nobody's ever really known whether it was like a suicide attempt or whether it was just him watching that and saying, hey, I can do that too, because they basically said he had been doing so many drugs that he was under psychosis and just couldn't think straight. You know, he felt comfortable with his family, and so she started to bring him here. He started to flip out in the car, jumped out of the car on the Ventura freeway. A passerby picked him up. He ended up, contacting a friend. The friend went and picked him up, and Ray said, I want to go to this house. I want to come to my house. And he was going to confront his wife and like destroy the place. And the friend brought him here and then called the police and let them know what his plan was. And when the police got here, he had destroyed the inside of the place. He had been bashing his head up against the walls. And so they took him in for a suicide evaluation and to be treated in the hospital on May 31st. And June 2nd, even on a 72-hour suicide watch, Ray Combs took his bed sheets off, tied them together, hung it on his shower curtain rod inside the hospital, and hung himself. What I didn't realize was that when I was here with all this art, this was actually the house where Phil Hartman was murdered, right up in that room. I'm kind of glad I didn't know it, because I was able to show you the grounds and we could appreciate it in like a different light, but I didn't realize it because every time I'd ever seen anything about this story and about his murder, they never showed the full house, or never that I could see. They always just zoomed in on that window. It's a pretty sad story. And thought that was going to bring his career back to life, and then he had also done a pilot that they thought was going to get picked up, and it didn't get picked up. People said he was drinking a lot in his last days, and he was even telling his friends that he was suicidal. So it was unfortunate that they said it was at 11:40 p.m. his body was found, and he was rushed to the hospital and died the next day. He was an only child, and it's sad because I guarantee if he would have stayed alive, just the way careers have been brought back to life with this vintage love of classic actors and people that we remember from our youth, he definitely would have gotten more work. He was a great actor. Like I said, he was very likable, he was charming. I mean, he was just, by all accounts, he was fun to work with, and just sadly it would have been, couldn't find what apartment it was, and I also couldn't find too much detailed information about this. I thought when it happened that I remember the report saying that he had friends over and excused himself and then went and hung himself in the hallway, but I couldn't find anything, so I hope I wasn't making that up. Don't take me verbatim, but I thought that's what I remembered hearing from the outside. But I did get that fact wrong. I thought that the old phone booth that was down there at Gil Turner's on the other side, I thought that was the phone booth, but it's actually this one. This is the one that Joaquin makes that call from, where he says, my brother's ODing, he's on the ground, we don't know what's happening, we think it's Valium. And they say, well, where are you located? And they said the Viper Room on Sunset and Larrabee. And then it's within 4 minutes that the ambulance pulls up out front, and River was, as we know, laid out right across here. There's the door, and he would have came right out here.